Hi, I'm Dave Palmer. Thanks for joining me for this very important topic as we look at the teaching of St. Thomas Aquinas in the Summa Theologica on happiness. It's something, according to Aristotle, that all people desire. Everybody wants to be happy without exception. So it seems like it would be important to look at what exactly constitutes happiness and answering the question, what is the key to happiness? Okay, I guarantee you, if you're watching this video, you want to be happy. So we need to learn what the Angelic Doctor, St. Thomas Aquinas, said about this. And more specifically, how can I be happy? Okay, to what degree are you happy right now? And would you like to be a happier person? And what is the key to that? So let's get right into it. And, we look around and we see creatures everywhere in the world. We don't see angels, but we see a lot of creatures. And when we talk about happiness in this regard, we're talking specifically about the human person. Okay, how are we different than the other creatures out there, and how is our happiness different? And St. Thomas Aquinas says definitely, since we are rational creatures, as are the angels, what makes us happy is going to be very different than what makes the snake or the grasshopper or the flower happy, so to speak. So let's get right into it. In the first part of the second part of the Summa, first article, Thomas starts talking about man's last end, and ultimately what is happiness all about. And he says whether it belongs to man to act for an end. And ultimately he says yes. Why do we wake up in the morning? Why do we the moment we turn off that alarm or the snooze, are we acting for an end? Of course. We're going to work, we're going to take the kids to school or to the park, or maybe recreation. There's something that we have planned for that day as our goal and our purpose. And so, of course, we'd all agree that, yeah, we're acting for an end. I mean, I'm acting for an end right now. So are you. You're watching this video. I'm making this video. There's an end in mind, right? And so Thomas goes on to say in Article 6 of this first part of the second part of the Summa, whether man wills all whatsoever he wills for the last end. Now, this is the key, is saying basically, when you get in the car and you start driving somewhere, or you're making breakfast, or changing a diaper, or doing your tax returns, is all this geared towards our final end? And Thomas says, yes, everything that we do is geared towards our final end. Now, here's his explanation. He says, man must of necessity desire all whatsoever he desires for the last end. This is evident for two reasons. First, because whatever man desires, he desires it under the aspect of good. Okay, we wouldn't do something if it wasn't pursuing some kind of good, according to St. Thomas Aquinas. And if he desire it not as his perfect good, which is the last end, he must of necessity desire it as tending to the perfect good. Okay, so when we eat a banana split or some French fries, I don't think any of us would say, wow, this is the perfect good. But it's good, but it's tending towards something that's ultimately the perfect good. Okay, this is very classic Thomistic philosophy here, because the beginning of anything is always ordained to its completion, as is clearly the case in effects both of nature and in art. Okay, you pack your bags for a trip. Well, that's not the end, but it's tending towards the end, which is the trip itself and the business or the pleasure that you're going to get out of this trip, right? You buy the airplane tickets, or what have you. Okay, wherefore every beginning of perfection is ordained to complete perfection, which is achieved through the last end. Secondly, because the last end stands in the same relation in moving the appetite as the first mover in other movements. Okay, classic Thomistic philosophy here. It is clear that secondary moving causes do not move save inasmuch as they are moved by the first mover, which is God, right? Therefore, secondary objects of the appetite do not move the appetite except as ordained to the first object of the appetite, which is the last end. All right, so God is the first mover. God is our beginning, and God is our end. He created us. He calls us back to himself. And so everything that we do is connected to God as our beginning and our end, the Alpha and the Omega. That's what St. Thomas Aquinas is getting at right here. Okay, so what makes man happy? Okay, Thomas in this Prima Secunda It says, is it wealth, honors, fame, glory, power, bodily good, pleasure? If we're really rich, is that going to make us happy? If we're powerful, or we are, win championships in sports, or have that perfect relationship or the perfect spouse, is this going to make us happy? And the perfect, pet, or, cheeseburger, these are all things that they make people happy to some degree, but Thomas says, no, not ultimately. Not ultimately, none of these things are going to be able to bring us ultimate happiness. So finally, he says, whether man's happiness consists in the what? What ultimately makes man happy? And you probably can figure this out, since Thomas, was a Catholic priest and a great lover of God. He says, the vision of the divine essence. Okay, when we come to know God as best as we possibly can in our human nature, that is happiness. And that can only be achieved when and if we get to heaven. Okay, so Thomas goes on then to say, well, can one be happy in this life? I mean, we look around, we see people that appear to be happy, and hopefully you've had happiness in your life. I certainly have. Can we be happy in this life? And Thomas very succinctly says, a certain participation of happiness can be had in this life, but perfect and true happiness cannot be had in this life. So regardless of how much money or fame or notoriety or power or the relationships you have, it's not ultimately your perfection, but it's good and it tends towards your final perfection. And if you take it all into perspective, then that is going to lead you to a very happy life. So what is the key to happiness? It is ultimately a relationship with God and a desire to live with Him forever and to know Him. And that is our final end, and that is our beatitude. God bless you. Thanks for watching.